Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the show. My name is Avrum Rosensweig. Every Tuesday, Rabbi Gemara and I, my friend, my colleague, do a series which is called Parsha Prose. Indeed, that's what we are doing today, discussing Parshat Bamidbar through the lens of the classic movie Shawshank Redemption. How are you, Rabbi?
I'm very well and very excited. Yesterday was Yom Yerushalayim.
Yes.
And, many times we don't like to see that we are getting older and older, but I feel very special for remembering this day in Israel. When I tell my students or speak to people, and I feel very proud about it. I do remember it, and the more I think about it, I was very, very lucky because I'm sure that my ancestors would pay everything they had in order to be in a day like this, to see like that we can go to the Kotel and being in Israel. And I'm the lucky one who fulfilled their dream.
Yes, very much so. I spent a lot of time in Yerushalayim as well, especially when I was in yeshiva in 1978. I was in Sanhedria, and we've talked about this before in Beit Talmud. But let me ask you something, Rabbi. Just when you think about Jerusalem in its entirety, what comes to mind? What are the images? What are the thoughts?
First of all, I love the landscape of Yerushalayim. The stone everywhere, like the building with stones outside, and variety of people. You can find everyone on the streets of Yerushalayim, from far left to far right. And there is something very colorful about it. I know that there are people who don't like to be in Yerushalayim. They feel it's the divine presence is like a burden upon them. I'm not one of them. I actually love it. I love to go to the Kotel. I love to walk on the streets of Yerushalayim, and I like to go to Emek Refaim and to have excellent food because, here in Toronto, we have, Baruch Hashem, a few restaurants, but the number of restaurants in the entire Toronto is like what you have in one corner in Israel. So I don't see lots of difference between being in the Kotel and then sitting in a good restaurant and to enjoy sitting with my family or friends. I find it fantastic.
Are you a Tel Aviv guy as well?
I'm sorry?
Are you also a Tel Aviv guy?
Less. I would say less. I like Tel Aviv. I grew up in Tel Aviv. I was born in Tel Aviv, by the way.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv was different in the other time. Then I can see how slowly Tel Aviv and Yerushalayim really represent different views of the Jewish people. So there are things I love in Tel Aviv. There are things that I don't like in Tel Aviv, but in Yerushalayim it's quite the same, and it's everywhere. If I think about places like Toronto or New York, I also like certain things that I don't like others.
You mentioned that some people can't bear the heaviness of the holiness, if you will. I know. I believe the Rambam says that the mitzvot that are done in Israel, they sort of have a greater impact, the greater force.
Yeah.
Would that be the same in Yerushalayim? Is it even greater there?
I'll tell you a story that happened really after Milchemet Sheshet Hayamim, the 6-day war. My father took me right after Shavuot to see the old city and the Kotel. By the way, it turned to be a terrible disappointment. I think I thought about the Kotel like a wall made of gold and silver, and I remember like after the narrow alleys, like crowded and one out of like thousands going down the shuk to to the Kotel, my father says, "Look, here the Kotel," and I look, and what Kotel? Like there was a wall. What Kotel? Like in my imagination of a boy 7 years old, the Kotel was something not from this world, and this was like an old stones. It was not, by the way, as beautiful and imposing as it today. Um, Today it's much more like you come and you stand by the view. But then you just ended the alley. Remember, it was under the Jordanian rule, and you touched the Kotel. So there was not the perspective of this magnificent wall and all the surrounding that you see today. So I told my father it would be so nice to have like to live in the old city. By the way, at the time it was like just a pile of rubble. And my father said to me, and because I said, well, we are Kohanim, and my father said, we will not, I can live in the Kotel. I cannot think that I'm going to the washroom and 200 meters away is the place of Beit HaMikdash. And you see, I was like 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I still bear my father's words because in this comment, it explained me a lot about what Yerushalayim is. The contradiction between living your life and going to the washroom while 200 meters from you is like the presence of God.
Yes.
How can it go together? And it's not easy until this very day.
Rabbi, when you go to the Kotel today, what's your experience?
I love to go to the Kotel. I like to daven in the Kotel. I like to see the many people who see the Kotel as their center place. I love to see Jews from all over the world. I just enjoy it. And to me, the Kotel is obviously like a place of holiness. But I see it also a place of holiness because so many Jews are coming. And you can see sometimes they turn to be very emotional people that you wouldn't believe that even Jews, they don't look sometimes like Jews. And they come to the Kotel and something is melting inside and they feel at home. And I think this was, in a big way, also the feeling of many of the soldiers who came to Har Bayit. Because if you remember the pictures from 67, many of them were people from kibbutzim. They never davened in their life. They were not religious. But once you come to the Kotel, everything changes. And these people were crying on the stones of the Kotel. And they felt so connected in 1 second to generations before them, and to understand that they made history, and they did.
Yes. Well, what do you love about seeing Jews from all over the world? What grabs you?
I don't know. We are a special nation. What can I tell you? We are a special nation, and we have shared heritage. And I don't know, see the eyes of our family, it's different. There is kind of like love and compassion and curiosity. I can see that on the face of people who are coming to the Kotel.
Are you the type of fellow that people approach?
The beggars for sure. They always think that I'm rich. I don't. I'm not. And you know that it's part of going to the Kotel, like like schnorr all the way from the top of the stairs until you reach the wall. It's like scavenger hunt. Well, which is, listen, okay, I can understand. It's like people where thousands of Jews are coming and people need some money. Um, people ask me, for many of them, aren't you this and this and this? I said, yeah, we look alike, but I'm not this person. Yeah, so people actually do approach me, and I
Who do
always
people?
welcome every Jew with a smile, which make it easier for them to approach me.
And here
So
in Toronto,
over the years, I met many people. I can say in the Kotel, in the old city, people that I knew, people that I didn't. I guess that now after our podcast, more people know me. It already happened in places like Los Angeles or Washington. They saw. So maybe I'll come now. The next time I'm in Yerushalayim, more people will say, your Rabbi Gemara from the podcast with Avrum.
All right. Exactly. Rabbi, when you walk
You make
along,
me a celebrity, Avrum.
that's my goal. That's exactly what I want to do. Because you're a good celebrity. You know, you look good, you speak
Thank you.
well, you have something to say, you hold yourself well. Rabbi, when you walk along the street here on Shabbat, do you say Shabbat Shalom to everybody?
Everybody. And, many. It's a very good question because I live on Yeoman Street, and this is a street where you have like the Shul of Petach Tikva, the Shul of Orchaim, the Shul of Magen David, and many people walks by, and my wife and my son Daniel, they ask me, who's this guy? I say, I don't know, but he says like Shalom Aleichem to you, like you know each other for generations. And I said, of course, we are both Jews. Why shouldn't we? Like, we know each other in a way.
Yes. When I was growing up in Kitchener, my father was the rabbi, my mother was the rebbetzin, and we would walk home after shul, and people would honk, and they would wave at my father. My father would wave back, or he'd walk by someone, and they would say, "Oh, well, hello, Rabbi. Very nice to see you." My father would respond in the most cordial, warm way, and we would say to our father, we'd say, "Who was that?" He goes, "I have absolutely no idea." He goes, "I have no idea."
Listen, sometimes it's fun. My granddaughter was by us a few weeks ago, and as we walk from shul to home, she said, "Saba, everyone knows you here." And I said, "Well, I don't think it's everyone, but many people like say Shabbat Shalom, which is beautiful. But at the same time, I have to tell you, when I go to shopping, I have to behave differently because people look at me and I represent more than one individual in the Jewish community." And I got sometimes like nasty comments. I was once in a store and I didn't see that the lineup was from one side, and I went to the other side really innocently. And one lady was very upset with me. She said, "That's how rabbis behave." And I was offended by it, and I said, I'm also like a regular person. I did not see the lineup, and I'm really sorry for that. But I learned a great lesson. People look at you and they expect certain behavior. And as I told you last time, with all the anti-Semitism and all the blaming Israel for spilling the blood, I see also something positive in it. They expect us to higher standards. And I think we have to remember that. Although there are many reasons why they are wrong, but we have to remember that we are special people, and people expect us to higher standard of behaviors.
When I was growing up in Kitchener, I was the only Orthodox young man, a child there of the male persuasion, and I would wear my kippah, and people would chase me at lunchtime in school, and I was terrified. And I came home after kindergarten. I said to my father, "I'm not wearing my kippah anymore to school," and he said correctly, "Okay." And I've had that fear inside of me forever. I don't wear a kippah except in religious environments or spiritual environments. Because I understand what you're saying about standing out as a representative of the Jewish people. And something, I was traumatized by that, and I never really came around. I'm really uncomfortable showing that part of my Jewishness. It's just not something I'm comfortable with.
Interesting. And you know what? There was a beautiful walk for Israel last week. Also, something you talked about the Kotel, but I feel the same here, like seeing so many people from different walks of life, and there is something uniting us all, which is, I find it very magnificent. And, the Israeli embassy, the night before, had a notice of the Israel ministry that people from Israel who are going to Canada has to be more aware. There are 5 levels of alert, and normally there is no warning for Israelis to come to Canada. And it was the first time, I guess, especially after what happened in Washington, D.C., that they asked to raise the level of alert, including not showing Jewish or Israeli symbols, which I found offending, to be honest with you. I thought that they have to come with a different way to say that. But at the same time, yeah, we can be a target.
It's interesting with you because you can never really hide your Jewishness.
Eh, I know, when we go, sometimes when we travel quite a lot, my wife insists that I will have like a baseball hat. And I said, yeah, once I put the baseball hat, no one knows that I'm Jewish. But, it
That's
makes
great.
her a little bit more, like she feel more secure this way. So I wear my baseball hat.
That's very good. By the way, just in light of what you're saying about anti-Semitism, one of the things that I wanted to talk about during our Shivim Panim part of Parsha and Prose is indeed that, and I just did a little research on some ways and means of fighting anti-Semitism. And one of them is indeed what you're saying. It's the idea of living proudly as a Jew and modeling who we are as Jews. Some people will say Tikkun Olam. And I want to read you a paragraph on that. Combating anti-Semitism by visibly embracing Jewish identity through mitzvot, cultural practices, or philanthropy. The Zohar sees mitzvot as lights against darkness, countering hate with positive action. And you know something, Rabbi? I'm a really big proponent of that. At the beginning of the October 7th fight that we all took on against the anti Semites, I did a lot of work online. And I have to tell you something, I really got burned out on it because you know what it's like? It's like a dragon growing another head. Every time you feel like, okay, I convinced this person, 5 other people come forward and, make these smarmy remarks. And I decided that what I was going to do instead was I was going to try to up my Jewishness. I was going to try to up maybe the chesed that I'm involved in. So, as an example, every Thursday now, I think I mentioned this to you, I go visit a Holocaust survivor. And my friend and Dalia and I, we play cards with him. He's a very quiet man, and he's a very gentle human being and a lovely person. But he just wants to play cards. So we play gin rummy with him, and, yeah, and I try to do this now online through our podcast and other podcasts that I do, is to bring goodness to the world, because my feelings and my thoughts are the Second World War was won because goodness was stronger ultimately than evil. There was a lot of destruction that evil brought along, but ultimately the reason why we won is because more people saw the importance of helping others, of bringing democracy back, of fighting on behalf of goodness. So that's my approach, more or less. I don't want to go head to head with the anti-Semites anymore. We'll let B'nai B'rith do that, and the Federation and other people. I just want to up my goodness.
I think it's a very healthy approach because anti-Semitism is disease, and a disease cannot be resolved by words. Unfortunately, you need something different, and for most anti-Semites, it's not even like something of a reason. It's just like feeling and jealousy and a mixture of many, many things. So there is no point even to waste your time in trying to convince them. Maybe you actually will get the opposite. But exactly as you said, and that's exactly what I always tell my students, you are going to be a better Jew, you are going to be undefeated. And I feel strongly this way, that the more people and serious people, and Baruch Hashem, there are many serious people in the non-Jewish world, they see what Israel is doing in many other areas. Let's just, depart for a second from Gaza and the complexities of it. But how goodness they bring to the world. If you see like how Jews behave normally, I think this is a best answer, because if they are not going to admit to us, some maybe their children, maybe another society, we have to be the best we can. I don't know if it's going to help us. I'm not naive anymore. But I think the more we are Jews, we can fight better anti-Semitism by strengthening ourselves. No questions about it.
Rabbi, before we dive into Parsha and Prose, and once again, we will be discussing Parshat Bamidbar. The new book has began, and we are doing through the lens of Shawshank Redemption, which is a classic film. I always like to take advantage of your knowledge in terms of education. So once again, I just did a little bit of research on education and the classic educators throughout history, and I just want to throw a few names by you and just hear your response to it. It is said that some of the greatest educators who ever existed, one of whom was Socrates, that he pioneered the Socratic method, a form of inquiry-based learning that emphasized critical thinking through questioning. Confucius developed a philosophy of education centered on morality, ethics, and social harmony. Maria Montessori, I'm curious what you say about her, created the Montessori method, emphasizing child-led learning, hands-on activities, and individualized education. She focused on fostering independence and curiosity. And then John Dewey, who championed 1859, 1952, championed progressive education, advocating for experiential learning and democratic classrooms where students learn by doing. What grabs you from all that?
First of all, I do believe that the Talmud is heavily influenced by the Socratic method of asking questions. And remember, Socrates lived in a time of the end of prophecy in amidst. Now, this is a very different way of approaching life and the big questions of life, because when you have prophets, God will tell you what to do. God will instruct you what you can do and what you can't. And in every case of doubt, you are going to the sources. And if you are not sure about the sources, there will be someone to explain you directly, so to speak, from God. But then the world have changed. And it did not change only in Greece. It changed also for us. There is no prophecy at this time. And who is the source of authority? You, your brain, your question, then your answer. So we do know that we go to the people who understand the Torah the best, but there is no prophecy anymore. It's all depend on your ability to ask questions and to give good answer. Good answer means with proofs that can be challenged, can be tested against other alternatives, and so on. And this is exactly, I just gave you the description of the Talmud. What the Talmud is doing, it takes a source and start to cut it with no mercy. Like, who say that? Are you sure he say that? How could he say that? It contradicts something different. Oh, this is the answer. Are you sure about the answer? This answer seems to fit only one opinion and not the other one. So you go from one stage to another, and I have no doubt that there was interaction between our sages, the Torah sages, and the great sages of philosophy, Socrates, Plato, others. In the Talmud itself, there are some records of discussion between them. And this method is so compelling. First of all, it survived until this very day. Excellent educators and excellent schools are working in Socratic methods to teach their students how to think, what kind of questions to ask, how do you know that one answer is better than the other, and so on. So it means that apparently it bears lots of validity and importance until this very day. So Talmud to me is just continuation of the Socratic method. And as I always tell my teachers, if you really want to teach today's students how to think, which getting harder and harder, because I don't know if you heard about it, but today there is AI. You heard about it? So
a little bit, yeah.
One of the concerns of many teachers is that we won't need to think anymore because, ask the computer, ask AI. What did he say? The ChatGPT. But Talmud forces you to think in many, many ways and many, many levels. And I said, I think if Talmud was a subject for the top Jewish students, it has to be now open to all, even to non-Jews, because it will force them to think and to revisit everything that they know about life. Now, you mentioned Montessori. Curiosity is in the base of Jewish beliefs. And I'll give you two examples. I think we spoke about it once. Why the Torah start with the Bereshit, with description of the creation of the world? The Torah just teach you what to do. So the Torah had to start with the first mitzvah, or the section of the mitzvot of what you do and what you don't. But I think the Torah, first of all, before you enter the realm of mitzvot and instruction, the Torah want to put in front of you the greatest puzzle of all, the world around us. And the Torah expects us, or serious people, to ask themselves a question. What is the world around us? Why I'm here? What is my role in this mysterious world? And I told you that in Hebrew, olam come from e'elem, from mystery. Because the olam, the world, is a mystery. How Abraham became a believer. It's not that just God one day knocking his door. Our sages describe a process where he started to ask himself questions like, who made the sun rising and the moon rising at night? Why are these changes of nature? What is happening here? And then, after he was ready to accept the idea of monotheism, then God revealed himself to him. But it starts with curiosity. So these modern ideas are not foreign to us. On the contrary, our system of beliefs and commandments is built upon them.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Would you, as an educator, ever suggest that a child goes to a Montessori school?
We have connections here in Chat with all Jewish schools, and I have to tell you, even not Montessori, today many schools adopt this idea of develop the curiosity of a child. Don't just teach him. For example, every parent who listens to us, I have a great recommendation for you. If you really want your child to love math, because this is kind of a problem. Kids don't like math. And I will tell you a story about myself and math in a second. And there is the Singapore system. Please remember it, and you can Google it. And I highly recommend this system that actually showed you math as something that really is curious, something that is really creative, something that is going to resonate very well with your child. I never saw anything come close to it. And if your child is really curious internally about what's going on around him, he will love math. And Rabbi Gemara guarantee it. So I told you that I will tell you about my own story. When I was in grade 9 in Yeshiva High School in Israel, I was not good in math at all. I got very mediocre marks, and I didn't like it so much. And that's the way I got to grade 10. And in grade 10, after 2 months, my teacher, Mr. Danino, Dr. Danino, came to me and he said, listen, there is a group of students going to Bar Ilan University in the afternoons twice a week to learn math, and I want you to join this group. And I look at him and I said, I think you talked to the wrong person because I'm really bad in math. And I don't like math. So he said a sentence that resonated with me until this very day. Gemara, you love math. You just don't know it yet.
That's great, man. That's great. Yeah.
And he was so right, because the moment like they opened our eyes to see the world of math, not as formulas, not as just numbers, but really way of thinking about the world, the order of the world, like everything changed. And, a few months ago, I met one of the people who was responsible for this program. In Toronto, I see a person and he looks familiar to me. And it hits me that this must be Professor Alex Lubotsky. At the time, he was like the genius in Israel. He, by the way, got the Israel Prize for Math. A fascinating genius. He was also MP and the lecturer in Princeton and Harvard and in Israel. Obviously, now he's working after retirement in Machon Weizmann. And I comes to him and he said, "Oh, you are Gemara?" Like he remembered me from 45 years ago. It was very,
Mm.
very moving moment to see one of your heroes when I was young. And he came with this idea. He was actually the founder of this idea that you can take young people and to expose them to the beauty of math. And I was very lucky to be part of this group.
Very good. Very good. The Singapore
Yeah, please
system. I've written
remember,
it down.
Google it. You will enjoy it. Absolutely, 100%.
Rabbi, our Parsha and Prose this week once again is dealing with Parshat Bamidbar, and I'd like to read an introduction to explain what the Parsha is all about. And we are doing it through the lens of the Shawshank Redemption, a movie that most of our contemporaries have seen. The Torah portion Bamidbar, that's numbers 1:1 to 4:20, means in the wilderness. It marks the beginning of the book of Numbers. It's set in the Sinai desert, and it describes God's command to Moses to take a census of the Israelite tribes, organizing them by their families and assigning roles for their journey to the promised land. The portion details the arrangement of the tribal encampment around the tabernacle, which is very interesting, emphasizing order and divine presence. But Midbar reflects themes of community responsibility and faith, illustrating how the Israelites are shaped into a cohesive nation under God's guidance in the wilderness. The Shawshank Redemption, 1994 film, was directed by Frank Darabont. It's a profound adaptation of a Stephen King's novella, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. The film centers on Andy Dufresne, a banker unjustly sentenced to life in Shawshank prison for murder. Through his friendship with fellow prisoner Ellis Red Redding, Andy confronts the dehumanizing challenges of incarceration while clinging to hope and to dignity. With stellar performances by Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, the movie weaves a narrative of resilience, redemption, and the enduring power of human spirit, cementing its status as a beloved classic. Why did you bring these two together?
I actually wanted to give it an introduction to the whole story of Bamidbar, of the entire book. And I'll tell you why, because how I came to this idea, it happened, I would say 15 years ago. I went into a class, and a part of the curriculum was the book of Bamidbar. Now, as we all know, and Baruch Hashem, this is the second cycle of us doing it. The book of Bamidbar is a very depressing one. Like people are going on their way to Israel. There is such an excitement, especially as it expressed in our first parsha, like the camp. Everyone is waiting to the journey. They are going in a very short time to enter the land of Israel after they receive the Torah, special nation, special covenant with God. And then everything is going like downhill, one after the other. They rebel and they complain. They are not happy. They are not ready to enter the land of Israel. And one tragedy is just coming on the heels of the previous one. And students say, can't we learn like something happier? Something that will make us more like inspired? And I was bothered by it, but it just hit me when, and sometimes it happened to a teacher, you stand in front of a class and like a divine spark penetrate your brain and your mind. And I said, you know why it's so important to learn Sefer Bamidbar? Because Sefer Bamidbar just described the stage in your life when people are going from dependency on their parents, on their teachers, to the stage in their life where they mature, and it's not easy. So to me, Sefer Bamidbar is I could read it or name it in the name of the teenagers, Bnei Israel, the time of being a teenage, because they move from dependency or on Mitzrayim or on God, and they have to live their own life, and it's not easy. And as I say that, I said, wait a second, I saw actually a movie dealing exactly with that, the Shawshank Redemption. In Hebrew, it's called Chomot Shel Tikva. But, and I gave it, and everyone screamed. I wasn't sure that they know it. That's the best movie I ever saw. So I knew that I like just hit the the nail on its head right there. And when I told many people that, it's a good idea actually to compare it in your classes, because most students and obviously most teachers know this movie, and it's really one of the highest rated movies of all times, for a good reason, because it really talks about responsibility and freedom, concepts that are essential to our life. And the teachers who did so, they told me that, like, they did not have to go through too much explanation to show the relevancy of Sefer Bamidbar to the student's life.
Rabbi, interesting about this movie, and you're correct. It is a classic. Which, you've asked people what are the top 20 movies that you've seen in your lifetime, Shawshank Redemption usually comes up. Yet it never won a major award. Do you know that?
I'm not too surprised, and I'll tell you what is actually quite surprising me. And I don't know if other people will agree with me or not. But sometimes my wife, I told you, she's responsible for my lack of education, because honestly, I did not see too many movies and things like this. I was never interested. But my wife sometimes say, "This is a good movie. We should watch it." My first question is, okay, what is the rating in Rotten Tomatoes or something like this? There are all kinds. If it's above 7.5, I don't want to see it. And I'll tell you why. Because today I see that the movies that you cannot really understand, and they are like twisted and retwisted, they get like high marks, which I think is a little bit like the emperor clothes, because everyone want to show you how smart she or he is, that they like this style. I want to see a movie just to enjoy. I don't want to think too much about it. So actually, I'm going for the movie that is getting like 6.8. This is like a normal movie. The plot is simple. I can understand what's going on, and I don't have to think and rethink in the middle of the, hey, what happened here? Why changed it? Because they have all these kind of ideas. So I'm very, very surprised that Shawshank Redemption got, I don't know, like 8.5. So this is exception to the rule, I guess.
Very interesting. Rabbi, in the Shawshank Redemption, Andy
You like
Dufresne.
these movies that are twisted, Avrum, like, and
I'm
on
with
the
you.
last second, you get the whole point of the movie?
I'm with you on this, Rabbi. If I'm watching it with someone else, I'll turn to the person. You go, do you have any idea what the outcome was? They go, no, I really don't. But I think
I guess it marks our old age. We want things simple. I don't have the mind of a young person who can, like they say, like, see things from a very unexpected angle. Just let me keep it plain and simple.
Rabbi, in the Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne clings to hope despite the oppressive prison environment. How does the structured organization of the Israelite camp in Bamidbar reflect a sense of hope as well, and purpose for the Israelites in the wilderness?
Well, I would say that what happened with the Israelites in the desert was a overflow of hope, without taking into account what does it mean. Like, you get what you wish for sometimes, and it might be not so good. And what happened in prison, at a certain point, too many people lose any hope. And Andy and Red are very, very different in this approach, because they have the hope. They have a hope that the spark of hope that burning within them, especially Andy. The Jewish people were sure that, they are on their way to Israel, and they never really paid attention to the fact that everything is going to change. Are they ready for this change? Are they ready from going from slavery, dependence on God, not working, not having worries about anything, to life that you are going to be responsible for them? They weren't. So I would say that here is the tension between hope, which is a wonderful thing, but being ready for the hope, being ready for the results of what you are looking for. And I'll give you one example, a terrible example that actually we already spoke about, Viktor Frankl, but one of his observations in the camps was that many people actually died after the liberation. Once they understood that they have no place to go back to, once they understood that their family most likely is not there anymore, this was a moment that broke them completely. So as long as they were in the camps, they had the hope. We are going to see our family. I'm going to see my wife. I'm going to see my children. I'm going to see my parents. They had something to live for. The moment it all shuddered, they could not deal with it. And by the way, in Shawshank Redemption, there is also um, a scene of one of the inmates that after being released from prison, he committed suicide. He couldn't live with a new life after he everything was set for him. Everything he did not have to be responsible for any decision. He couldn't take this life, and to me, this tragic scene is in a way the tragic show of the journey through the desert.
It's interesting, by the way, that Frankel himself was looking forward to being reunited with his wife, and he was also looking forward to finishing his book, which he had started on logotherapy, and his wife was murdered in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
The census in Bamidbar assigned specific roles to each tribe, fostering unity. How does this compare to the sense of community amongst prisoners in the Shawshank Redemption, particularly in Andy and Red's friendship?
In a prison, a sense of friendship is very, very important to keep everyone in some status where the whole environment is very hostile, from the chief warden to other groups that usually form the even the people who are inmates. You usually have described very well two groups or more of people that are hostile to each other, and if you don't have friends in the prison, I guess that in a prison like this, of full with murderers and rapists, your chance to survive is very, very small. And Andy's wife life was in danger constantly. So friendship help you just to cross this a hostile and dangerous atmosphere. It's very different in the Midbar. The beauty of the camp of Israel was that each one assigned a role, a job of leadership, of helping the Levim to carry the education and the inspiration to the people. So it was not formed by a need to survive. It was formed in need to educate. And this is very, very different. By the way, the success of Andy was that it was not only a survival for him, but he really educated others to understand what freedom means and to see themselves as human beings, although the conditions were so harsh. But in the Midbar, it was not, again, they had the memories from their Shawshank from Egypt, but they got a mission in their life, and they were asked to fulfill this mission, which they couldn't at this stage. That's actually the story of Sefer Bamidbar. Freedom means certain strength and responsibility, but it was very, very different from what we see in the movie.
Rabbi, just to mention once again, Tim Robbins was the actor who portrayed Andy Dufresne, Morgan Friedman as Ellis Red Redding, Bob Gunton as Warden Samuel Norton, and William Sadler as Haywood. When I was watching the film, I looked at the thread, below, which would talk, reflect people's comments. I just want to tell you one or two comments because it's such a powerful movie. I think your choice here today was outstanding. One woman wrote, she goes, after watching, she goes, I teared up several times. I'm 21-year-old blind man, and I lost my sight at 13. Only recently have I accepted my disability as a part of me. I am in debt to all those who fought for the rights I have and should have today. Another person wrote, "This movie should be required viewing for everyone. I can honestly say this is now one of my favorite movies ever." And then finally, as an adult with dwarfism and two adult children with dwarfism, thank you, thank you,
I
thank
can
you.
understand. And
Interesting
you
response.
ask a very interesting question, and this is about getting the awards, the Oscar, that like a movie like this, like years later, is recognized of one of the greatest movies of all time. And I don't think it's unique only to this movie. Many of the great people, sometimes their greatness was recognized, sometimes after they died. We know what great contribution they gave to the world, and they never actually received it, especially in science, especially in um, people who contributed a lot to society, and somehow they did not get the fame and the recognition they deserved, um, which is sad. But I think it actually give a great hope for many people who they know that they contribute, they know that they do something right. Even if you don't get the award, um, you are still did something great for humanity. It's not easy because in a society that uh, uh, worship awards and achievements, sometimes it's very, very hard. I can tell you we have a school of like 370 graduates. I could easily take 15 of them, and each one of them deserve to be a valedictorian, but there will be only valedictorian. Now, what does it mean to all the rest? And I always tell them, don't be blind by the light of the title. You gave a lot to the school. You are leaders. You are going to give so much to the people around you. So, award or not, yes, it's disappointing, but we have to know why we are here. We are here not for the award. The award is a nice recognition. We are here to make the world different. And I tell the students, you all made the world a better place. And I cannot think about anything which is greater than that, not even being a valedictorian.
Yeah, very good. And in light of that, I know some people who won the Order of Canada. Um, and it's very interesting. After they win it, there's a certain pride that they have in winning it. They wear the pin very often. But
I
one of
think
my
they
dear
have to, by
friends,
the way.
uh,
I'm not sure, but
they have to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, one of my dear friends won it. And I think that after a little while, it was like, yeah, I won Order of Canada. It's very nice. I'm proud of it. But he kind of went on with his life. You know what I mean? Like the award wasn't central to who he is. It wasn't central to it.
since I love music, as you know, classic music, I always like to see the Rubinstein competition that really takes like the greatest young pianist in the world, and it's just amazing to see them. People who are 17 and 18, a little bit older than that, playing the piano like the great masters. And you know what is interesting? Some of the great names that you hear today got second or third place in this competition, where the first place not always made it to the top later of the greatest pianist in the world, which always was a point of interest to me. Why is it so? And
Yeah.
I think that at a certain point, a great pianist or a great artist, any great artist, understand it's not about the awards. I am good in what I'm doing. I will try to be even better. And then, okay, in the age of 19, maybe he was not mature enough. He was not artistic enough. In the age of 25, boom, they become like the great artists they are. And maybe the same is about this movie. I'm sure that many, many people would be very, very happy if their name was attached to the credit at the end of this movie. Even people
But
who got the Oscar award.
there's a great book called Children on the Hill and it was written about 20, 30 years ago. And it was about parents
I
who taught their
I,
children.
I
Do you
read
know the
this
book?
one. Very, very important. I love this book.
Oh, I also love it. Yeah, me too. It's a classic book about how parents raise their children, not with the bond, the chains of you better win, or if you don't win at number one, you'll be in trouble. One of the kids was in an orchestra, and she was entered into a contest. I think she was a pianist, and she won. She didn't even know she won, and she didn't care. Somebody came up to her later. They said, "So you won the contest. How do you feel?" She said, "Oh, I didn't know. It wasn't important
Very
to
interesting.
her." But fabulous book, Children on the Hill. Rabbi, I want to diverge, well, not really diverge, but I want to ask you a question in sync with Bamidbar. The Ramban actually gives three reasons for the census itself, and he says the miraculous growth of the nation, which had come to Egypt as a family of only 70 people, but 210 years before, show conclusively that God loved them very, very much. So too did the need to count them after every significant loss of life. Number two, each member of the nation had a right to benefit from the personal attention of Moses and Aaron, and the census was a great opportunity for every Jew who came before the father of the prophets and his brother. Finally, since the people were about to go directly into Eretz Yisrael and would have had they not sinned in the episode of the spies, a census was needed to prepare the military campaign and to know how many people were able to fight. Now, I just want to put this up on the screen. Um, this document, which reflects the numbers within each tribe, and ultimately at the bottom you see a total of 603,550. The largest tribe was Judah at 74,600. And I believe the smallest was Menashe. Rabbi, when you look at this census, right, and how important these numbers are within this parsha, if you like, I can put it back up up
Yeah.
again in your
Okay.
response. Um, what what's going on here in this parsha that we spend so much ink counting?
Well, counting is very, very important. And it's beautiful that in English there is a connection between counting and accounting and accountability. And I think that's a message of the numbers. You know, if one Jew is missing, the numbers and the psukim of the Torah will be very different. And I think it sends a very important message to every Jew. You are important. Am Israel without you will not be the same Am Israel. And I think it's a very inspiring message that each one of us is counted. A problem is, and you know that actually there is a prohibition to count the Jewish people is when you take them as numbers and you don't see the individuality of it. But in this book done by Moshe and Aaron, and I think that's the beauty of the second Pirush of the Ramban, that they had the opportunity to form like relationship with a student with the people of Israel. They came, they say Shalom Aleichem, such a feeling. I'm like next to the greatest person who led us out of Mitzrayim. This by itself gave every Jew like the feeling of importance. I know many times, you know, there is a beautiful custom that when the davening of Erev Shabbat is over, like everyone goes through the rabbi to say Shabbat Shalom. I'm sure that you remember it as a child. I hope that the people of Kitchener came to your father, Zichrono Livracha, to say Good Shabbos. And I always thought like it's respectful to the rabbi, but I every time that like I give a shalom aleichem to a rabbi when I come to another community, I feel good about myself. Like okay, I have kind of relationship. I say good Shabbos to the rabbi. The rabbi asks me where I'm coming from. So it's a wonderful opportunity to form a relationship. I'll tell you what I saw here, and it actually amazed me in chat. I saw it for the first time. There are teachers who are doing attendance in the class. Okay, they read Aaron, Rivka, etc., etc. Some teachers, when they do the attendance, they put a question in front of the students. I'll just think about like, what do you prefer better, like cholent or gefilte fish? Now, so you go through the names and everyone tells you something. And you know what? I said, wow, that's a wonderful way to like create through the counting something much more meaningful, because like you remember the Shabbos in your home, like you know something about the student which maybe others don't know, and so on. And I do believe that this counting of Bamidbar, or the counting of um, in Parshat Pinchas is quite the same. It was not just to know the numbers. It was not just about the numbers. It was about forming this kind of relationship. So I'm not sure that Moshe and Aaron went from one person to another to ask if he likes the herring with jalapeno or schmaltz, but they still say Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. This forms kind of relationship, no questions.
It's a beautiful point that you're making, and I want to encourage that very much. When I go to a shul that I haven't been at before or not been there for a while, because of how it was brought up by my parents, which was exactly what you're saying, it's to show respect for the rabbi and to recognize what his accomplishments are within that service itself. So in my head, I tell myself, okay, Avram, even though I want to run out, I always want to run out. That's my nature. I tell myself, no, you go up and you say to the rabbi, Rabbi, good Shabbos, and you should call on your beautiful our Torah and your service. I thank you so much for that. And I want to ask, my son plays hockey at various different arenas. And I go very often to watch. And even though he's now not in what's called select anymore, which is a formal way of playing hockey, he's in what's called beer league, okay, which is very local and indigenous to our Canadian culture. And it's older guys. It's not coached. They have a great time. And I go out and I watch. And you know something, Rabbi? I make every effort when I watch the people who are cleaning up the arena, and it's not an easy job because people are throwing things all over the place. I go over to them as often as I can, and I tell them, I say, you know what? This place looks so good. It's so spotless. You're doing a beautiful job. And they always stop and they smile, and they're so thankful that someone took the moment to recognize their work. And I really encourage other people to do the same thing.
This is beautiful. It will give. I know, because I try to do the same, but not to your level. You're a tzaddik. You are like on the highest level.
Maybe one day.
But when I leave a restaurant, I do go to the chef and thank him for his food. And I was very pleased to see that I could be the king of England if my name was Windsor and not Gemara. Why? Because Rabbi Sachs tells the story that actually he saw once Prince Charles, who was, by the way, his age. They both were born in 48.
Yeah, they were friends.
Now he's a king, right? He went after a dinner into the kitchen to thank all the people there. And he said, this is a sign of greatness. So I do the same. I felt very good when I read this story. For some reason, I'm not the king of England.
For some reason.
And Baruch Hashem, I don't miss it at all.
Do you know the fellow who cleans up your school? Do you know that person?
Actually, yes. And you know what? One of the most beautiful moments every year of chat is when we do like the banquet at the end, or like an event at the end. They come to the stage and they get claps from everyone, recognitions from everyone. They are the people who are working, the company who is working for us are Portuguese people from Brazil. And, this is a school with 1,400 students. Baruch Hashem, we always have someone who speaks Portuguese and give a whole Megillah of thanking these people in Portuguese. And every year, this is like my best moment. Like recognizing these people, the unsung heroes of every place and school.
Kol hakavod. Rabbi, I want to read you a couple of quotes from Shawshank Redemption, just to get your response to it. Get busy living or get busy dying. This is from Andy Dufresne.
This is a very good one. Now, by the way, because I saw it with the subtitles in Hebrew, maybe I did not pay so much attention to the I remember this subtitle, I remember, או שתשקיע את הזמן שלך לחיות, או שתשקיע את זה בלמות, or something like this, like
Okay.
now I understand how they translated it. Okay, good. And
Hope.
it's very true, because every moment we live, we actually die a little bit. So we have to think how we infuse some life into the moment that is going to be away.
Yeah, and this must be a question that every single person in jail asks themselves, because you're isolated. It's very quiet, and you have to determine, am I going to live or am I going to die? Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies.
Well, hope in our tradition is, especially the Jewish way of life, with no hope, you have nothing. You have nothing. The fact that we are here, and Baruch Hashem, we live in good times comparable to many others, although we still have our own sorrows, and there are many. But compared to other times, we live in good times, and we arrived here because many people in the darkest moment had hope. We have to remember it.
Just to jump over to the Parsha now, there is a pasuk, Numbers 3:7, and it goes, the Levites shall perform the service of the tent of meeting, and they bear their iniquity. It shall be a law for all times throughout your generations. The Levites were not counted, correct?
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
Above the mission, that they were like kind of inspectors of the spiritual situation.
Rabbi, the structure makes sense to you, how it worked with the Levites?
Very much so. I think that for education, you need very devoted people who see their life mission in educating and inspiring others. I'm sure that they had, as a tribe responsible for the spirituality, they worked very hard on their personalities, because you will not be able to inspire other people if your personality has some faults. So I'm sure that they spend lots of time to improve constantly themselves in order to reach and to inspire others. They were people who had no property, basically, namely 100% devoted not to make money, not to to achieve a great materialistic achievements, but just to improve the situation of the nation. The nation paid them something back with Trumot, Masot, all kind of gifts that they got. Listen, it worked. What can I tell? It mostly worked. It mostly worked.
Rabbi, in conclusion, as you know, I always like to try to stump you. and I was thinking about a story that you told last week, which I've already told a few people about, and I love this story.
Which one? What was it?
The story about Amalek, when the Rebbe went and took the Hasidim to the bar.
The fantastic story.
And he said, well, we just killed Amalek. It was so beautiful. So when I was going through the Parsha this week, I thought, I'm going to throw this out to the rabbi and see if he has any stories or thoughts on it. You always have such interesting personal stories. The idea of Peta Rechem, right? The first of the born, be it the child or be it the animal, you have to redeem them. What is that all about within Judaism?
Again, you have to remember our defining moment. You leave Egypt, and you take with you, like, the two animals that play a major role in leaving Egypt are the donkey, where you put everything and sometimes your children on it, and they are going to be the carrier of your family and your goods from Egypt to the new place, to the new world. It's always very moving when you read about, like, the Irish and the Italian going from the old countries coming to America, and they, everyone has to take something with them, and the journey on the ship. So they did not have a ship; they had a donkey. They had this one, and obviously some food, and remember the Korban Pesach that they left behind. So the life of the Jewish people, especially by leaving Mitzrayim, were somehow with the donkeys, with the lambs and the sheep. And the Torah wants us to remember it. The Torah is a lot about memory, because people forget where they came from, what is their story, their family story. So in every generation until this very day, we have this mitzvah of Pidyon Peter Chamor. I attended one of them, and it was crazy. I thought, you take like the Chamor, the new Chamor, and the new donkey, and you redeem it with the lamb. It's one beautiful thing. Like you put on the donkey like many decorations. The Chamor does not understand what's flying around, but everyone is very, very happy, and everyone is like, it's a celebration because you don't have too many Chamorim, donkeys, to do this mitzvah. And I think it's just a beautiful reminder, even in 2025, where are we coming from? And it's like show and tell in a beautiful way. The first moment that we left Mitzrayim with sheep and with the donkey.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thought. Yeah. I'd like to conclude our Parsha Prose with a AI poem. Once again, Bamidbar through the lens of Shawshank Redemption. And it reads as follows. In Sinai's wild, where sands stretch wide and free, a people counted, bound by God's decree. Like Shawshank's walls, where hope seems locked away, yet order rises, shaping night to day. Each tribe and name, a standard raised on high, their tents encircling where God's presence lies. So Andy carves a world within his cell, a library's light where darkened hearts can dwell. The census calls, each soul a numbered flame, no man forgotten, every head a name. Like red who learns through friendship's quiet grace that hope's a spark no prison can erase. The Levites bear the tent, their sacred load, through desert's trial on a destined road. So Andy digs through stone to freedom's shore, his heart a compass, dreaming evermore. In wilderness, God's voice cuts through the dust, a map for wandering built on faith and on trust. Like Pacific dreams, blue as Andy's vow, the promised land calls then as it does now. From Sinai's count to Shawshank's hidden key, both tales converge where captive souls break free. In order forged in hope that never bends, redemption waits where wilderness descends. Zoza. I like when you smile like that.
Oh, very nice. It reminds me something now as we talk. I took my family usually every summer to see the continent, and we had like a Savannah car of GM, and we like drove from Toronto to LA through the Route 66 and everything. And I do remember that once we were in Arizona, like it's hot, just like bold hills, and we wanted something to drink. And I see a little sign. It says, I think, copper or something like this. And we enter the place, very desolated. I thought that I'm in a movie set or something like this. And I see the people. The people are all very, very, look odd, let's put it this way, like very not social. And I asked one, where is the supermarket? And he showed me, he did not even say a word to me. I get into the supermarket like a very frightening person. He comes, what do you want? And it was my first or second year in America. I always heard and read about Ma'arav Parua, the Wild West, but I didn't know that it's really like they describe. And then we sat outside the supermarket. It was a small place where we can eat. I put all my kids there, and again, like everyone who goes, like smile, say something, nothing. Then I asked one of the people, I said, like, what is this place? So he told me that these are people who were convicted and they were released and they cannot find themselves in a regular place. So decided to build this place. They are apparently mine copper, and that's why they called copper. And in a second, I told my kids, let's go in the cars and run away. Every person here can be a murderer, a serious killer. I don't know what, but I could.
That's great.
I could see like how difficult it is to integrate back into society.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Ori Miklat a little bit, where they ran off.
In a way, yeah, it was a very interesting experience. I will. So if you are in Arizona and you see a
Yeah.
place copper, don't get there.
All right, folks, we want to thank you very much for listening and for watching. I just want to throw out a little advertisement here. I have a very dear friend who's an outstanding designer, a house designer, and she has a resume which is very long and reflects great success. And I think that it would be great if you're designing your home and you're looking for somebody. Please be in touch with me. And I'm at avrum.rosensweig@gmail.com, and she would be of great help. And I think you'd appreciate her a lot. Thought I'd throw those 2 cents in. And also make sure if you can draw something from our discussion today, make sure that you're always conscious of the people around you who are working on your behalf. Maybe they're the janitors, maybe they're the person in the shul, wherever you happen to live. Really, really be aware of those people who are working arduously and are often so tired because of the enormity of their work. Not it's not only hard to be a lawyer, but it's very hard to clean the street. So make sure to say thank you to those people. Until we meet again, thank you very much. Am Yisrael Chai. Be proud to be a Jew. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.